Welcome to the Broken Graciously podcast, where we challenge the culture of brokenness by exchanging beauty for ashes holistically, with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. I'm your host, Tanisha B. Lester, lovingly known as Coach T. I'm a Master Certified Life and Business Coach, Certified Christian Coach, Certified Pastoral Counselor, and published author. I look forward to engaging with you in the comments as well as on IG. Follow me on IG at Tanisha B. Lester with the number 1. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. All right. Hey. Welcome back to Broken Graciously, the podcast. So this is actually episode 6. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not checked out the other episodes for this season 2, be sure to do so. Be sure to go follow the podcast as well. So last week we talked to Letia May, who is a drummer, who is our artist, who is a barber. This week we're talking to her again, but this time she's putting on her chef hat, and we're going to talk about just the various things that she's utilized food-wise to heal herself. As you can recall, we talked about her being diagnosed with MS on last week. So her full bio will be in the comments, so you can check that out here. But let's welcome in, this time, Chef Letia into our room. So welcome, Letia.
Hey, thanks again. Thanks for having me again. Chef Tia.
Chef Tia. My bad. I'm sorry.
You tried to put the whole government on there.
Paperwork, so I was honoring the paperwork. But Chef Tia. Okay, so we talked about MS. We talked about your journey with MS. We talked about being a light. We talked about speaking to your body. We talked about speaking positively to yourself and utilizing your struggles in a positive manner to shed light from the Christian side of things into others. So let's delve into, first of all, how did you get into going from being a barber and an artist to being a chef, which is simply none other than another form of artistry? So how did you dip your toe into that food?
So what I didn't mention in the last podcast was that from the day I got into the hospital the first time until the title Chef Tia, I watched Food Network every single day, all day long.
That's my show.
And when I say every day, all day long, there was never a moment the channel wasn't on that. And everyone that saw me watching that said, how do you watch this and not get hungry? And I said, I'm studying the science of it. I'm trying to figure out how they're doing what they're doing. Okay. And what makes it come out the way it comes out. Like that's how I watched it. I was studying. Okay. And my mom, my grandmom, they're both chefs. My grandmother, she passed away. Rest in peace, Grandma. I miss you. But she was the lady who everybody came to her house to eat food. Anytime she said she cooked anything, and it could have been, I just made a grilled cheese sandwich. Oh, I'm coming over. So like, you coming over for a grilled cheese? Like, she only made 3, and I'm getting one of them. But if they came over with their child, I might get a half of one, and their child get the other half, and they get a whole one. And I'm like, that's not fair. I was about to get a whole one, Grandma, but okay. So the desire of it, I was there, one of their prep people. We had a family business called May We Serve You, off of our last name, May. Okay. My uncle, he also, he's a grill master. Okay. He taught me to love the grill, and that's what I do. I love the grill. Okay. So watching them grow up. I'm sorry?
Is the restaurant still open?
Well, we did catering. We were caterers.
Well, go and do a shameless plug right quick.
Well, since my grandmom has passed and my mother and my uncle have gotten older and dealt with different health situations, they kind of stopped doing it. And that kind of died down in the family, which I think the Lord sparked it in me
Okay.
during my downtime. That's how this came about. I'm like, I just felt like God was, because I did say when my grandmother died, Lord, show me what it was that kept her being the light to the family. Show me what it is that, that key she had that kept the family together, because she was the glue.
Okay.
When she left, I watched the family members scatter a little bit. So it was like, okay, what do we need to do? What do I need to do to help bring the family back together the way she had it together? And I'm watching Food Network, not thinking about it, that this possibly could be what may have been the encouragement my grandmother may have been allowing me to have during this time of, during my downtime. It's the food.
Okay.
What kept us together is the food. And when I think about it, yeah, we can have arguments in the family, disagreements in the family. And that Saturday night, she will call everybody, dinner's at the house tomorrow, everybody be there. And there was no, oh, I'm not coming. There was no, but I'm mad at you. There was none of that. There was, okay. And everybody showed up.
Okay.
Everybody showed up.
We all going to
And
Big
that,
Mama's house.
yeah, it was like that. And it just brought the family together, kept us close, kept everything tight, a tight unit of love. And just seeing how, like, she really would cook her behind off, and that doorbell would ring, that phone would ring. Sister May, we coming over to get some food. And she would tell us all, don't touch the food. I got some people coming over. After they get their food, then everybody else can eat. And we're like, huh? You told us to come over to eat. But that passion, watching them, they taught me some things when I was little. I remember 6, 7 years old, 7, 8, sitting at the stove in the stool with a hamburger for about an hour. They had it on low,
Okay.
cooking a hamburger for an hour.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's too much. Once I realized that that's what was really going on, I'm like, they could have turned that up to medium or something. Like, they had me sit there all day with this hamburger.
Yeah, but that gave you a lesson in patience and like really putting the love in the food.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Cool. That's yeah. I remember them good old days of sitting back because my grandma, when I was younger, my grandma would start cooking on Saturday for Sunday.
Yep.
Some of them pots would still be on low when we left to go to church because our church was
Yeah.
literally down the street. And we'd
Same.
come back and dinner was done. That cake, that good old chocolate, that yellow cake with that chocolate icing and the fresh pecans, Lord Jesus. That peach cobbler. Woo-hoo.
Yes.
I can smell it, I can taste it. And last week we just recently lost my grandma. So like those memories of things have been just coming back this week,
Yeah.
of how she did stuff and how things were as I was growing up. And here's one thing you could probably relate to. I remember in my early teens, I lived with my dad for 2 years, and we were gonna make a sweet potato pie for Thanksgiving. I'm like, my grandma made the best sweet potato pie. I'm gonna call my grandma, and we gonna figure out how to make this sweet potato pie. I'm gonna get her recipe. Child, I called my grandma. Well, I called her mama. I never called her grandma. I said, Mama, how you make this sweet potato pie? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, wait, what you mean you don't know? Like there were no recipes. She was like,
No
I'm like,
recipes.
how much do you put in the sugar? How much? I don't know. I just put it in there. Consequently, I learned how to make that pie the same way.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what I put in it. I can't
That
tell you
part.
how much I put in it, but it
It's
comes out
that.
the same. I just know when it tastes the
You can
right
taste and
way.
smell it.
Yep.
When you can taste and smell what you know it smells and tastes like, you know you've added everything you needed to add, and you're done with the whole science experiment. Now it's time to eat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it goes back again to, right, that muscle memory we talked about in the last episode. That
Yeah.
muscle memory of what it tastes like, what it smelled like, what I knew it looked like when it was
What it
in
looked
that
like.
mold, that nice
Yes.
even sheen on the top of that batter.
Yes.
Woohoo, Lord.
The texture of the batter when you
All of that.
stirring it, all
All
of
of
it.
that. Yeah, that all
Definitely
sounds
that.
wow.
My grandmom and my mom were good for making pound cakes, and they had a system which my sister and we were mainly the main ones in charge of this. They put the bowl in front of you, give you the spoon, and say, stir this 300 stirs and count out loud. And we're like, 300? Yes, and count out loud. Don't miss a number. Don't mess up. Don't play around. Stay focused. So literally, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 300. And one of them would randomly say, what number are you on? And so I'm like, started saying them out loud, louder so they can hear me. And they're like, okay, keep going. Don't, what they say, don't be playing with the batter. Don't go fast and slow. Keep the steady motion. Scrape them sides. Make sure you're not leaving no flour on the edges. And it's like, all right. And we couldn't understand why 300. But when it was done, I will stir 300 for you anytime, as long as I can get the first slice warm without the frosting. That was
Wait,
me.
can we talk about the bowl though?
The bowl was a fight. The spoon was a fight. If you use the blender, the
The
tongs on the
beaters
blender
was a
were a
fight
fight.
too. Yep.
It
Give me
was a
the
fight.
beaters. That's what I want. I mean, I'll take the bowl and the spoon, but I want the beaters, the bowl.
Yes, yes. And I have my grandma, what, 12, 13 grandchildren? So we would have to share, like, okay, you get this piece of the corner of the bowl, I get this side, you get that, you get the spoon, you get this part, and it's done after that. The rest of y'all gonna have to wait till the next cake is made.
Did you ever learn like what the methodology was behind the 300 stirs? Like, did she ever divulge that secret to you though?
Well, from culinary school, what I can say is from making it without using the stirring method my grandmom did, we were taught basically you don't overstir it. If you overstir it, you'll mess up the batter and it won't be condensed. It'll be dry, it'll be hard. Because I've done it once.
Yeah, I've done it
My
too.
my mom almost killed me. It was marbly, it was like clay. I don't know, the way it came out versus when you stir it right.
Yeah, it's a big difference. It's definitely a difference.
You're in trouble if you mess that cake up.
It's
So
the
learning
difference
how
between
to
a
do
brick and
that
a
in
sponge.
school. Say it again.
It's like the difference between a brick and a sponge.
Yeah, really fast, really fast. But yeah, once I learned that in school and the teacher started to expound on that, I was like, oh, 300. When we had to do our first pound cake, I was like, the 300, got it. So I was real particular about how much I turned on that mixer, how fast, how many times I let it spin around. I'm like, no, I'm thinking about grandma. I'm saying, don't you overstir that. Don't you overdo it.
It's cool to it's good to look back and see the correlation between what you thought didn't make sense
Yeah,
and then to actually get context for it to see
yeah.
exactly how it makes sense. And that can go for anything in life, honestly. So when did you go to culinary school? Like, what was that process for you? Like, give us all the deets.
So culinary school, the way that happened, it was similar to how starting to watch the Food Network. It just happened. At the time I was working at the salon. Actually, no, was I out the salon? So I was out of the salon at this time because after becoming paralyzed, I started cutting hair at home.
Uh-huh.
So then once we moved into the house, we built a shop in the basement. So I was home in the basement cutting hair and stuff. My coworker from the shop I worked at, she did hair in her house. She's my godson's mom, so we connected all the time. She's African, so she cooks a lot of African cuisine, different things like that. So I would learn stuff with her, and she would learn stuff with me. And we started thinking like, I want to take some culinary class. I want to learn a little more of how to do the things that we don't really understand how to do easily or whatever.
Right.
So some kind of way, someone reached out, heard us talking about it, and reached out and said, there's a culinary class going on for free if you guys are interested in it. We're like, really? Free? Never heard of that before. Sign me up. Where do I sign? They're like, okay, here's the number, call them and set it up. So I reached out, called the school. Shout out to Respond Culinary, Chef Sean, amazing teacher. I got into that school. When I got there, the lady says, we're not sure if the class would be open this semester. We're kind of trying to figure out if we will have everything we need for that semester to start again, because we took a break off last semester and we're not sure if this one is going to work out. And I said, well, ma'am, can I put you in on a little secret? I said, recently the Lord told me whatever I signed my name on, he would show up. So can I have that paper, please? She was like, oh, you still want to sign up for the class? I said, yes. I said, he told me, and as I'm saying it, I'm writing my name. He told me whatever I sign my name on, he'll show up. So 2 weeks later, get a call, calling for your interview for Respond Culinary School. And I said, oh, when is it? And they're like, this Friday. I said, okay, I'll be there. So went there. Awesome introduction, awesome interview. I was like pumped. Teacher, he's a man of God.
Okay.
He spoke well of the Lord, and I said, yeah, God had me sign this because he knew to set me up on the road I need to be with who I need to be with. And that teacher from day one told us, learn how to become a family, because the kitchen only works if you're a family. He said he prays for his students every day, every night. If we ever need someone to talk to, his door's open. He does counsel and all that kind of stuff. If we just need someone to lean on, he's there. He told us the events that will be coming up, and school got started. Now, when you're ready for the next part of the school experience, I don't know if you want me to just go into it right now.
Go ahead. Let me just go ahead and readjust in my chair. Go ahead.
Get a little comfortable. I like that one. So we get started in school, and it's amazing. You walk in the room, they give you your chef hat, your uniform, your apron. At first, you only get the apron. You get some supplies, and you get a book to keep all your recipes in. And then there's this big old chart where every day he writes a new recipe, and you gotta write it out. He talks about it. He walks you through it step by step, and then he demonstrates it, and then we do it. And we get through, I think it was week 3, all of a sudden in our kitchen, there were bees out of nowhere, bees. And he said, there's never been bees in my class before. This is crazy. I'm so sorry, y'all. We'll use the other kitchen. So we used the bakery kitchen, and we used the kitchen they had for the school they cooked for every day. They did lunch and breakfast for elementary school. Okay. So we used that kitchen and the bakery kitchen to do our everyday class assignments. A couple weeks later, we had an event coming up. We went to go start packing up the truck. We go outside, the truck's not there. He tells us, stop playing, the truck's outside. And we're like, the truck's not outside. He goes outside, the truck's not outside. Okay. Someone stole the truck.
Wow.
Right before it was time to leave to go to an event. So we're inside, he's upset, he's making some calls, no one knows anything. I start praying, a couple of my friends start praying, he started praying. All of a sudden, someone runs in and said, Chef, the truck's back outside. But nobody was in the truck. The truck wasn't missing anything. Someone just borrowed the truck without telling anyone they had the truck, and it showed back up. And why did this happen every time we had an event during this whole school year? Someone would steal the truck the day we needed to use the truck. And right before it was time for us to go, the truck would be right back outside. And he said, this has never happened before.
That's so interesting.
It would be times he would come to school and be so upset. And we're like, are you okay? He said, my house was broken into. And we're like, wow. He said, I wasn't going to come to school today because of my situation, but he said, I didn't want to leave y'all. So he came, and he was so glad he came because he felt better after the class. We encouraged him, whatever, through, we used to have so much fun. I mean, it was so much fun in class.
Okay.
It was a few more things that happened that he kept saying, this has never happened before, and I've been teaching over 20 years. This has never happened before. This has never happened before. Like a whole bunch of crazy stuff that was happening, never happened before. One thing that wasn't crazy that never happened before, the last day of our school, of our graduation, he said he's never had one class that everybody who signed up and started in the beginning finished and graduated together. Our class. And what did we call our class? It never happened before. We got him a keychain. And what do you call those things? I can't think of the name of them.
Pendant.
Say it again.
A pendant, a locket.
What's the Army wears it?
Dog tags.
We got him some dog tags. It never happened before. We had written on there and with the year and all that on there, and gave that to him on the day of graduation. And that melted his heart. He was like, y'all don't understand. 99% of what went on in our school year, it never happened before. He said, so y'all are like a miracle class for me. And y'all gave me the inspiration to see that I can keep going forward. I still got it. This school is still a school to keep going, and it's still doing what it needs to do. He showed us videos of students he had before, and he's had students that were all in prison. They were able to come into his class. They allowed them to come into his class and be taught. These guys were from different gangs. And like he said, in first day, you have to become a family. So he had enemies in his class that before the school year got into the midst of it, they became family. They didn't want to leave the school every day because they said once they got outside, they knew it would be back to war. Right. And they just said they'd rather be in that kitchen as family than to walk back out those doors. So that school was different. So I can say all of this, God's plan. And it's just like, just watching how God moved it. We did a grand opening for Buick. They had a new facility open up, and we did the grand opening, catered that. It was huge. They tipped us very well. Okay. It was amazing. We had a lot of amazing events. The Christmas holidays, we did the aquarium. It was a lot of the students that were, in the neighborhood. They all came out, and we catered that. We catered, I think it was at least 10, 12 different big events we did during that school year. But I learned so much. It just showed me that, I don't know, when you really allow God to open the door for you, and you walk through it knowing it's him, and you have your ears open, because that's how I was every day. Lord, show me what you have for me today. As the door opened, okay, I'm here and I'm ready and I'm pumped up. I'm ready to do whatever you have for me. And I never said I couldn't do stuff. When they ask me, can you do this? I'll say, sure. And then I say, all right, Lord, it's in your hands, because I don't know how to do this.
Right.
And the end result would always be something that the teacher would be like, everybody come look at this. And I'm like, no. But he would always put me on display, and I'm like, all right, I appreciate that. It just was an awesome opportunity, awesome event. I became a executive chef for a church I was attending at the time. I served for them, and that was fun. I enjoyed. It gave me a different outlook on cooking. I was able to bring my personal business into the building and serve on Wednesdays. I would create different meals every Wednesday and sell it to the congregation after church. And, everybody was able to go home with something to eat because, sometimes Wednesdays you don't have enough time to go
Yeah.
get you something to eat after work and get to church and whatever else you had to do in between. So I thought of that and said, let me bring food to the table so that, people can eat because it's time to eat. It's what I say. That's what the chefs say. It's time to eat.
So I see a correlation. So last episode we talked about all the nurses coming in your room because it was a place of peace, right? Where you transition into a classroom that's been a safe haven and a place of peace for current or former gang members that didn't want to leave because they knew that peace that they had, or they could just be themselves and get to know each other for themselves versus, oh, you're this color, you're that color, you're this gang,
Right.
you're that gang. I see the correlation of peace even in this portion of your journey, having gone from the hospital to the classroom. So having gone into that classroom and learn and hone your innate skills, because that's what it was, is what grandma passed down to you, those
Yes.
generational blessings. How did you learn to utilize your skill set in the kitchen to begin to heal yourself, knowing what foods, what combination of foods, like what was that process and how did you matriculate through all of that?
Okay, so along the way with the journey from what we spoke of last episode, I had a friend who was a client of mine as well. He would reach out to me and ask me what's my meal plans for the week. And I asked him, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, you said they have you on steroids and things like that, and I know what that can do to your body. He said, you want to make sure you're eating properly so that you continue to keep your metabolism up, keep your body um, filled with the things that give you energy and stuff like that. Because with MS, you have fatigue a lot. I deal with fatigue, especially in the hot months, the different weather times and stuff like that. It'll trigger fatigue and stuff like that. So he had me to write down what I would eat and then see if what I ate bothered me, see if it caused me energy or if it caused me fatigue or what it did, So I
Food
kept a
journal.
journal of, I'm sorry.
A food journal.
Yeah, I kept a journal of what I ate, and after a while he told me to send him pictures of my journal of, what I was eating because he said, let me see what you got going on over there. He said, and just to let you know, I'm going to change your way of eating once I see what you got going on. And so when I showed him, he sends back a whole list of how to go about eating, especially because I'm taking steroids.
Okay.
And it was an interesting menu. Yeah, it was an interesting menu, but because I'm open to changes and open to trying new routes with getting my health in line,
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, let me try this out. So I went from eating, the regular everyday in your 20s, the kind of foods you eat in your 20s, the regular everyday of that, to now I'm eating. Well, I didn't eat cottage cheese. He put that on the menu, and I told him, no, thank you. But I had vegetables, I had yogurt, Greek yogurt, protein, a lot of protein. He said to do a lot of green vegetables, berries, different fruits he would encourage. And so he was like, just keep track of how often you eat it and spread it out so that you're eating enough of it throughout the day. He didn't really label it and measure it out to say this much food and all that. He just said, put these in your body. So I'm like, okay. And he's also in the army. I believe he is a lieutenant in the army. He might be a higher level lieutenant, but he's in the Army, so he knows how to switch his course of eating to get his body to operate the way he needs it to when he wants to gain pounds, because he'll go and get super buff, and then he'll get super slim because they have to be a certain weight and size and all that kind of stuff. So he helped me out with that, and I was able to fight against what steroids causes, which they will cause you to gain weight. They'll cause you a symptom called moon face.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was like, what is moon face? And when I started to see my face round, and I was so upset, I was like, I don't want this. I don't want none of this. And so I'm like, what do I need to do? So him being there for me, showing me those things to eat, that helped me. Another client of mine, he had lost over 130 pounds. And I asked him, what did he do? He told me some of the foods he would eat all the time, which was simple things like a tuna, like just straight tuna from the can with relish and mustard. That's what he would eat a lot. And he said that would be like what I eat for my protein. Like when I was really hungry in lunchtime or snack time, I would do that. And he said, I would eat meals for dinner, and I would eat breakfast, oatmeal and stuff like that for breakfast. He said, but tuna was one of my things to do like consistently. He said, so try that. So he would shoot different things to me here and there. Try this, try that. And I'm like, all right. So I was always constantly what they said, tricking the body. You eat like steamed vegetables for a week or two. Then the next week you eat raw vegetables for a week or two. And you keep switching that around because it'll make if you don't, your metabolism will slow down because it'll get used to digesting that soft food. And then it'll speed up because now you're eating the raw foods. So now it has to fight harder, it has to work harder. So now it's speeding up. And then you switch it back, and then it's like confused. So now it's working, trying to figure out what's going on. And if you continue to keep switching it back and forth, it'll keep it at a steady pace that it doesn't slow down. And once I learned that, I was like, oh, this is really working. I watched the pounds drop. I saw the energy increase. I saw, the stability in my health. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I saw that moon face disappear. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. This works. And it just made me get like really interested in figuring out more about food. So when culinary came, I had a lot of questions in school, and every menu, every recipe he would put up there, I would always have a alternative ingredient for this, and that. Ooh, so next time we can make this with this, and that. Teacher's head will go to the side and be like, you can never just stay focused on the one thing. I'm like, sir, my mind starts pinging and pinging and pinging different ideas. And he's like, but that's good. He said, but just during the class, stay focused on the one thing. And I said, I got you, sir. But it opened me up to see like the different ways you can create, different ways you can bring fun to food and make sauces. We made sauces out of anything. You can make a sauce out of, give me a can of soda, any soda, and I'll make you a sauce out of that can of soda. Bring me a bottle of water, bring me some juice, bring me anything really. At this point, he could bring me anything and I will create something out of it.
Yeah, I laugh sometimes. My mom will go in the refrigerator, open the door, close the door, like ain't nothing in there. I'll go in the refrigerator, look around, see a few things, pull them out, mix them up, and here's dinner. And she'd be like, where did this stuff come from? Because
where did it come from?
it was in there. Like, well, this particular thing, no, that particular thing might not have been in there, but that's what I saw in my head. So I put it together. Like, hey, I don't know how I do it. I just do it. So I get that. I think that's the fun part of it, though, when you have a bunch of random ingredients and you got to make something out of it. Like, and that's the show I like watching, Chop, where they give you all these crazy ingredients and you got to figure it out.
He did that in school. Chef, it would be a mystery basket. We did that for our midterms. We did that for our final. And I think my midterm, I made what was it? Blueberry. What was it? Blueberry? I think it was blueberry pork chops or something like that, or
Okay.
apple and blueberry pork chops. It was something. He had like a whole bunch of crazy stuff inside that container, and we were allowed to add more things to it, but we had to use those ingredients. And I wish I had the image so I could share that with you, because I remember he was shocked. He went to taste our food because me and my teammate, we worked it together. He went to taste our food, and he stopped and he looked and he said, "Okay, repeat to me what was in your mystery basket." We repeated to him what was in there. He's looking at the plate. We took the bread from the hot dog rolls that he gave us.
Okay.
I broke them up. I added I think I added some brown sugar to them, and I sauteed them in the pan because I needed to make a crust to just top on top of the
Oh,
dish
you're
when
ready
it
to say
was
a
done.
crust. Uh-huh.
Yep. And that's what we topped on top of the sauce for the pork chop. And when he ate that and tasted it by itself, he looked at us like, "What? What? How?" We were like,
Them
"You gave us
contrasting
this
flavors.
basket and said to do something, so we did something."
Right.
But it was those baskets are awesome because they trigger you to find something inside of yourself and create the best that you can. And it was fun. At first it's stressful, but then once you get going, it's like, okay, I got this.
Yeah, because you only need like one, just one idea, and then the rest of it just falls into place. And
Right.
it's just like, it's the creation of you being that creative all across the board. And it just shows up. And people can ask you, like, how'd you, like, yeah, I don't know. It was just like, I just had this one
It just
idea,
happened.
and the rest of it just manifested. And I think that's the beauty of being a creative. I wouldn't say that I always called myself a creative. Um, I wouldn't say that. But when you can, like you, for instance, your music, poetry, like you're in the creative arts itself.
Hmm.
But when you can pull every aspect of you and bring that to the table and you show up as you fully, like there's nothing better than that. But
Yeah.
you have to be aware of the different aspects of yourself. So even like you were saying, you begin to see different gifts and anointings begin to manifest that you hadn't necessarily tapped into or hadn't necessarily thought of. But when all that stuff comes crashing together and then you get to see this bigger, grander picture of yourself, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like all of this was in me all the time.
Right. How did I get here?
You're like, well, okay, hey, nice to meet you, girlie. You know
Nice to
what
meet
I
you.
mean?
Yes.
So it's so cool um to see that. And I that's what I share with my clients a lot, of how you don't come to the table with just pieces of yourself. You may not always see in the moment how these different things manifest or how they can go together, but you always show up as authentically you in whatever facet that is.
Yeah.
And if you need somebody to help you show, to help show you how all of this goes together, there's nothing wrong with that. But you show up as you're
Yep.
the good, the bad, the hard, the trauma, the hurt, the sicknesses, like all of that is you. And that's what you utilize to come together. Because like we can say, for instance, with you, that the culinary field is saturated, right? I can say with me, the coaching field is saturated, but in reality it's not saturated, because you have your own unique fingerprint to it, just
Yeah.
like I have my own unique fingerprint to it, just as well as any of the listeners who are listening to this podcast will have their own unique fingerprint to whatever it is that you're doing. but we don't
Yes.
always look at that. We get attacked with the spirit of comparison and jealousy and envy and fear, most importantly. But if you just utilize all of that as a motivating force to move
Mm-hmm.
you forward versus keeping you in this place of being stuck, I think that's where the beauty of all of this comes into play. So I love, having said all of that, I digress. I love that you've been able to pull every aspect of you, no matter what form it was, still being authentically you, and being able to utilize all of that, because there's a people whose ears are attuned to your voice, whether you're praying, they're
Right.
attuned to their taste buds are attuned to your food. Like all of that is attuned to uniquely Tia, and it's the same
Yes.
for all of us, but we just don't look at things that way. Here's what I say. When I think about quitting a lot, and that's just the truth. I'm
Right.
totally honest with it, because some days it just gets hard. But
Definitely.
when I think about the level of people, if I don't do anything, that I'll be responsible for in the end, I don't want that blood on my hands. I
Yeah.
don't want to have to account for sitting somewhere and being silent when I didn't have to. And
Definitely.
I don't want to do that. So I appreciate you for sharing your story, for telling us how all of these things work. So what I want you to do right now
Mm.
is tell everybody how they can find you. Tell them what you have coming up, because she does meal preps and all of that stuff. And if you've got any particular disease processes, illnesses going on, this is the one that totally understands where you are. And it's not that she's speaking from book knowledge. We have a lot of people speaking from book knowledge and not actual experience. So when someone
Yeah.
shows up with actual experience, there's a blessing right there in and of itself, because they can relate to you better. So let everybody know where they can find you, all of that, where what you got coming up, all of that. Are you open to clients right now? What you got going on?
Well, right now, you can find me on Instagram, Chef Tia's Cooking. You can find me on Facebook, Chef Tia's Cooking. It's Tia apostrophe S Cooking with no G. Um, what I have coming up is in the top of 2024, I will be starting a online culinary class with the school Teach Me University. Um, that opened up to me about 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. I was offered the opportunity to start preparing a curriculum for this opportunity to teach. And I can say, leading up to this, my culinary teacher, he was trying to get me to come in back to the school and teach a few classes. Before I actually relocated, I moved down south. Before I moved down south, he had that in mind, and he was just waiting for some things to finalize with the school. But in the meantime, my life had changed with having to relocate. So we didn't connect in time for me to be able to do that at the moment. But I told him if he still was offering that when I'm back on my feet and ready to jump back into the culinary world, I would be, more than happy to come and join him in the class. And then this opportunity shows up, and I'm like, oh, wow. And then it's the comfort of my home that I can do this class in my kitchen, in my house. And it's also, they are building a building, should be complete next summer, if not sooner, where we will be in that building doing our classes and stuff like that too. Um, that's going to be in Florida.
Okay.
But as of right now, I'm preparing getting my class prepared, getting the curriculum set up, getting all my equipment for the class to make sure I have everything needed to help. What my goal in this teaching is to show people how to, if you're dealing, like she said earlier, if you're dealing with health issues and it may not even be a health issue. You may have just a lack of things in your body. You may need more iron, more vitamins, and things like that, and you don't know how to go about getting that in your system. I've been learning what foods give you what vitamins, what minerals, and things like that. I've actually been toying around with figuring out how to create my own seasonings from scratch. And when I say from scratch, I mean getting the fruit and vegetable and dehydrating it and grinding it down into the ground peppers and different things like that. And creating my own seasonings. I want to make them specifically for flavor, but also for health. So that if you say I'm dealing with this, and that, I have a seasoning that has the things in it that can help with what you're dealing with and to give you a boost in your body so that you can have a better result from just eating your food. Because what is it, 80% they say of your eating is your health and your weight and things like that. So if you focus on what you eat, you'll have a better result on what you're trying to aim for and things like that. So I try to study a lot on what foods do what to the body and how you can add them to the body. I'm good with sauces, good with seasonings. And so I've been encouraged by my family to start a seasoning and a sauce line, which I've been in my science lab working on lately.
Okay.
And that's coming to the platform. You will see Chef Tia's seasonings and Chef Tia's sauces soon, very soon. And I'm also creating a cookbook journal to go along with my course so that with the recipes you get, you can also have space to, like how I was doing in culinary school, switch up some of the ingredients to make it the way you want it to be. Things you want to try out, you can like have your own section in the cookbook on that page or on the next page that shows you, that has space for you to switch up the recipe and create your own. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of education, a lot of good times and challenges. I do plan on adding challenges and mysteries, things and stuff like that. My culinary instructor had to do online classes during pandemic. So when I got offered this opportunity, I thought of him and called him quickly. And I said, "Sir, I need your help." And he told me, he said, "Tell me what's going on." And I let him know. And he broke it down to me how culinary online works and how to make it, how to get through and have a good result from it. So I have a lot of plans. In between time, I did become skilled at videography, so I know how to use the camera and things like that. So that's going to be fun for me, setting up the scene and making the situation happen the way I need it to be successful for the students that sign up for it.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that because that, like, I don't know about any of y'all, but that's my problem. That diet food, I want some food that has some flavor. I need it to
Definitely.
taste good because if it doesn't taste good, the possibility of me sticking with it is probably zero to none. So
That's the
I'm
truth.
looking forward to that. Yeah, look, go follow Chef Tia, stay in contact with her if you're interested in culinary arts. Find out how to get in her program, find out how to get in her classes. Even if you're already in the industry and you need some other knowledge, you want to broaden your horizon, your knowledge base, go check out Executive Chef Tia because that's what she is. Soon to be author. Amen.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Look, I have enjoyed this conversation. I so much appreciate you for taking the time to come hang out with me and
Been a
share
pleasure.
your story. Um, this has been really cool. This has been really cool.
Yes.
Um, look, this is the end of episode 6. This has been Broken Graciously, where we challenge the culture of brokenness holistically with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. So you already know the tips she's giving you. Go check her out, go follow her, and be sure to follow this podcast and be sure to go check out the other episodes as well. Talk to you later, and I will see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Broken Graciously podcast. Stay tuned for weekly episodes. Follow me on IG at Tanisha B. Lester and the number 1. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Blessings.